My name is Ed O'Brien, and I designed the posters and a lot of the elements that became press materials for the film. These were all really rough, I guess, sketches for what it could be. You know, they're really disjointed images, really kind of like ambiguous textural stuff. This treatment actually kind of prompted, I think, where we ended up, which was using these X's as a very prominent overprint somewhere in there. There are several ways to do kind of tonal elements. You could do it with silk screening, you could do it with embossing so that the image actually looked like it was there but wasn't really there. It tied to the movie a little bit in this idea of a ghost. There was also talk about bringing in like this much louder, much more punk rock kind of feeling. There'd been some talk about like making the type a little more present, a little more loud. I think that I started to play with angles and really dialing up the type and making the colors a lot louder. Bringing in, instead of like embossing textures and things like that, starting to bring in like photocopies and textural things that were maybe little cues to some of those things we talked about. Could we play with much bolder graphics? And so I think this is where the idea of this heart icon and mixing that with these X's starts to come in here. And we were playing with a lot of overprints, trying to kind of get some of this pop art and still keeping it, you know, a little bit Xeroxy, a little bit DIY. You know, the idea is that these are all loose and would be cleaned up and done right, and possibly, you know, silk screened and then scanned in so they could be reproduced but have a little bit of, you know, homemade feel to them still. If I had to pick a favorite of everything that I did for this would be it. I think that ultimately this is probably still a little too, maybe too austere and too quiet. I don't know, the tone just wasn't right, especially after, you know, seeing the movie. These are kind of inappropriate. It was decided that we should probably shoot some photos specifically for these posters. It seemed like the film stills and some of the early press photos were not really giving us the exact shot we needed. And this provided an interesting problem because the lead actress had actually cut her hair. I believe that the directors had to go buy a wig and shoot all these shots that we discussed. And you start to see the actual poster almost in its final version, kind of in a rough comp, which takes that heart, kind of destroys it a little bit more, plays with these X's, overprinting the image. And then we get to 6, which actually ended up being used for the kind of teaser. And this was something that it was purely graphic, and it worked as a teaser. It worked as a lead into something else. And these last couple directions, we were going to try and spell something with the hand. You know, it was one of those ideas that was fun to talk about and a neat concept, but it would have been too long of a read for a poster. We were taking that idea of this heart and these X's overprinting and seeing how much of the lead actress needed to be in the shot to get it across. And I think that there was also some talk of, does the heart look too bloody? Do we try to get more colors into the heart to make it a little more poppy as opposed to gory? And then that brought us to the final poster. It was definitely a little bit stressful. I don't think I have taken on a friend for free project since. There's this weird thing you feel where you don't want to let your friends down, but at the same time, if someone was a paying client, you would have sent them a million change orders by that point that would probably, you know, hit their pocketbook. It was also interesting because I think that several opinions going on, which makes it a little bit challenging sometimes. We all know each other, including some people that helped on the production side of the movie. People could see things in progress. And so I was getting comments from all these different sources, which was just, it's always fun. It definitely started to wear down on me. I believe at a certain point I started naming emails things like, "My Saturday is now ruined," and even leading up to the final email that I think was something like 2,000 words long, where I basically swore off doing any more work, only to be asked a month later if I would do their production company logo, which was hilarious, and even more hilarious than that I did it. I do remember in the very beginning of the project just throwing it out there that if this movie actually got picked up, you could expect the film companies to throw all of these posters out and give you things with much more focus group marketing, slogans, and over-the-top Photoshop come back and represent your film. And I would hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see.